All right. Thank you so much. Here we are again, and my name is Charles Nwahiwe, and we are looking at the situation around us, the coronavirus, the stay at home, the lockdown. Everybody has been sort of demobilized, if I might use that language. And so some people who haven't been able to put their acts together have been forced into learning a few new skills. And very many of such persons are parents like myself, who is also a parent. I've been forced to learn some new skills to be able to help my children keep learning ongoing. So basically, this is about the future generation. It's about the future of our children. It's about being able to make something beautiful, something good out of the situation we have found ourselves. So that's actually what this conversation is all about. So parents have been forced to become teachers, yeah? And so these are new developments, and we are looking at how going forward, how these things are going to affect so many persons, how it's going to affect the future generation, how it's going to affect, I mean, virtually everybody in terms of work, in terms of academics, and so many things. So how are those things going to be affected? So we are looking at parents who have been taught to become teachers here on one hand, but on a general perspective, we're looking at the changing world around us and how this has affected the future generation. And so on this conversation today, I have with me someone who is quite experienced when it comes to education. He's been in the education industry for quite some time. And he's also an HSE consultant, health, safety, environment consultant. And his name is Ekeoma Onuoha, and he's here with me on this conversation. Ekeoma, you're welcome. Hello.
Yes.
Okay, you are welcome. I just introduced you.
Okay.
You are welcome. And you have been in the education industry for quite some time. And here we are talking about um, the issues affecting the future generation, the children, the issues affecting everybody in terms of work, in terms of what is possible now. And so the question, the big question is this. Yeah. How personally have you found the situation? I mean, we've been at home for about 2 months plus now. So how have you found this situation? How has it been with you? How has it been on your side? Yeah. So let's get started from there. How are you faring? Hello, Ekama, can you hear me?
I think we are having some network irregularities here, but I don't know if you can hear me from over there.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay.
So you can go ahead. I'm asking, how are you faring?
Yes, I'm fine. Thank you. It's good to have me here, and I'm very glad to be here with you.
Okay, so we've been at home 2 months now and more. So how have you been coping with the situation around us? I think we're having some challenges with network. So okay.
Yes,
So
you
how
were
have you
saying
been
something.
coping? Yeah. Yeah, I say, how have you been coping with the situation?
Okay. Well, I must be honest with you. It has not been any easy, but well, we are managing. We are trying to keep up. Everybody is forced to stay at home. We have to obey the government as much as we choose to believe. So we have to just obey the government and do the most. So God is helping us.
Okay, great. That's we thank God for life. We thank God for His mercies, and so on my own side, I've been forced to learn very new skills. What I mean by new skills is I have the children in the house. I have to get my work done, and also have to help them sustain learning. And so I've had to develop some new skills to be able to help, make this happen. And that has really, really taught me quite a couple of things. And I've had this conversation with a couple of people who have also expressed concern concerning the future of the children. And I know you are in the education business. You are the principal of a secondary school in Port Harcourt, Nigeria. And so from that perspective of managing school, managing the learning of children, talk to me. How have you been able to look at this scenario before us, this crisis before us, this forced stay at home by the children, and the effects that from your assessment that it may have had on them? Yeah.
Well, I let me start by saying this. It has not been easy for any one of us this period, especially those of us in the private sector, because being at home. I'm talking from the side of the teachers and the management now. Being at home for some time, the money has not been coming in as school fees or as tuition fees. So we are just forced to look inward and probably sustain ourselves with the little we've been able to save up over time. But then, talking about the impact of what we've been at for 2 months now, and that's almost like half of the term. That's half of an academic term. Okay, so naturally, the human brain, when the brain is kept idle for quite a long period of time without being put to work, there's this norm with the brain going unproductive. Let me use that language. So I've been having this report from our parents, or some parents calling to complain that children, some of their children are conducting nuisance at home. Some have already started spoiling things at home. Okay, and then some no longer take instructions. You tell them things to do at home and they don't do it. And I also understand what the parents are passing through, because I know that when the school is on, some of these things are things we experience in the school environment. And now what has happened is that COVID-19 holiday has or break has forced this norm to be moved from the school environment back to the home where the parents are actually at home. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, because
yes, I
the
do.
parents are at home. They are not going to work. Quite a good number of them are not going to work. So they are getting it. Yes. So the parents are also, I say, partaking in the usual school experience that we do have when the school is running normally. So, but then on the side of the kids too, there's this tendency to forget things when you have stayed for a long time without learning. So a child who has been sitting at home, probably just watching TV programs, and then without opening books to read, or trying to seek avenues to keep learning going on. But a child may find it difficult to cope. Any day the school resumes, even if it's a very brilliant child, you just have to do a lot of work on that child to be able to wake them up to consciousness.
Exactly.
So that is what we are facing. These are the challenges that COVID-19 has brought to us. So staying at home will really not just affect the parents alone, not that they will just experience all these problems alone, but it will equally affect the child's performance.
Exactly.
Because I know an average child who does very well in school, and then just within a space of 2 weeks being away from school, comes back and becomes confused. Sometimes they don't even, you ask questions, they are not keen in, they are not following at all. Why? Because that period of inactivity, that lapse in learning timing has been created. So that is what is ongoing. That is what we are facing currently.
Yeah, that's actually the case, and from our own part as parents, we actually see what you have just pinpointed, and that's the fact that initially when the stay-at-home lockdown started, it was like a holiday. So naturally, I mean, nobody felt it. But after a week and two, the reality started dawning on everybody. And so, like on my own part, I had to think about, myself and my wife. So what do we do? Yeah. So the first thing that I tried to do was to go online. I mean, checked out a couple of educational materials here and there, educational platforms, and looked at what can, assist me to be able to keep the learning environment on course. So, and I was able to pinpoint a few here and there, and I put them together, and I came up with a schedule, a program of activities for the children. So starting from when they wake up, devotion, taking your bath, having your breakfast, So for me, my focus was trying to maintain some semblance of normalcy, yeah, so that when the normalcy, normalcy in quote now eventually returns, so that the transition will not be a shock. We can easily make that transition. So basically, like I said, I was forced to look at things I've not really made out time for in the past. Things I kept pushing forward, postponing, even though I've always had an interest to, look at the children's education deeply. But the situation now forced me to really take time and look at it critically. And so the question I keep asking myself now, from the experience we have had within the last 2 months, I ask myself, having gotten involved deeply now in the children's education, when school resumes, Will I slack? And for me, my answer is no, because now I have taken a critical dive into their learning, and so I will eventually continue to follow up. So now, having spent 2 months and plus, I've also discovered that the energy to to keep going seems to be waning. So we now have to keep finding incentives to be able to sustain their interest, sustain their energy, sustain the momentum, so that things can keep on moving forward. So for me, I think that the lockdown period, staying at home, it has really had several effects in several dimensions. And while we are doing all of this, just also bear in mind that I am also trying to get my own work done from home. So it hasn't been easy at all. It hasn't been easy, So, but the point you pointed out is a very critical point, and that is when this whole thing is all over, some children may have had gaps in their learning, and that gaps needs to be filled. And restarting, those days in secondary school when we are taught physics, when you stop a machine to restart it, you have to, really use more energy. So restarting the process, yeah. So what are you looking at? Because this is your business education, and hopefully the children will come back to school sometime not far from now. Hopefully, I'm saying hopefully, because it appears that there's so much uncertainty about this whole thing. Today you're in lockdown, tomorrow you go and take fresh air, and then you go back to lockdown. I mean, you understand what I'm saying? So much uncertainty. But from your perspective, when the children come back to you and you know that they are going to be quite a lot of gap, what are you thinking about? What are you going to do to be able to remedy such a situation?
Well, thank you. Before I talk on that, I must have to also acknowledge the fact that from one of the things you pointed out, that the COVID-19 break must have also been a blessing in disguise, so to say, in the sense that parents who were never having time to evaluate their children at home, now they at least they have time to go through what the child is doing, because the children are very close to them. Those that used to be in the habit of rushing off to work, come back late, and then they ask, which assignments were you giving? What and what have you done? Which subjects are you having challenges with? Which subjects are you having a bridge in communication with the teacher? So the parents are now being forced to get closer to the children, get closer to their work, and know exactly what they're doing. So we are expecting that with these efforts that some parents like you, thank God, have put in place, with these efforts, all we just have to do is to sustain that energy. Because one good thing is that at least quite a good number of them have been learning while they are at home. So when they come back, all we just have to do is to sustain that energy, sustain that flow. We are also looking at, from my own side in the school we are managing, I've been thinking of how I can be able to go more practical, be more practical in our learning methods. Okay, I was sharing with a friend last time how this COVID-19 has actually unveiled most of the lapses we have in our education system, because it's obvious we've been learning theoretical. And one thing about theoretical learning is that the child tends to forget very easily. So when there's a break like this, assuming we've been adopting practical methods of learning, when there's a break like this, even when the child comes back, those things, because part of what they did must have been hands-on work, so those things remain in their psyche, remains in the active memory part of their brain. They don't forget that easily. Because one thing is that we easily remember processes than theory. So we are looking at mapping out strategies to, engage the students better. Now that the online learning the e-learning has become a part of our educational system, because we must embrace it one way or the other. We must have to adopt it. So now that it's here, we can also think about incorporating it into our learning methods. I can categorically tell you that there are many students who teachers don't know how to use a laptop or use an Android phone. And thank God for COVID-19 break or the lockdown period. Now that they have been forced to learn how to use those things, and the children, let's say, I bless God for the kind of children we have these days. So when it comes to use of gadgets and all this technology, they are very good. They don't have any problem at all. So we can actually weave in these things into our curriculum, into our learning methods, because these children appreciate practical learning. They appreciate technological-based learning more than the textbook lesson note method we have been using over the years. So we can think of how to bring in these methods or these practices into our system, and then have the children. Because initially, I personally I banned the use of mobile phones, especially Android phones, in my school. So because I discovered that children were it was beginning to create distractions in learning. But then I've also used this period to find out that these children know how to use this thing. It's just for us to channel the energy towards the proper way, the real thing, the positive or profitable thing. So if we can take this learning to the next level, if we can take this learning to the next level, it will really help us a lot. I'm not speaking for only myself. I'm also talking about for other educationists out there, including the Ministry of Education. So many people have been appealing to the ministry that after this period, they should step up our learning methods. They should look into our curriculum again. So many things are missing. How can we teach a child and the child goes home within a week or two, the child has forgotten practically everything he or she has learned? So it doesn't tell well. And when we begin to compare with countries abroad, the overseas countries, you see that the way they study there, even if the child stays at home for a year, that child is actually learning even at home. The child is busy even at home. So the brain is kept active on and on and on and on. So these are one of the things that we are hoping to do as an institution when we come back.
Yeah, you've actually highlighted some very critical points, very critical issues. And, in terms of making learning practical, I have been, like I said, I had to take a deep dive into the children's learning within this period. And one of the things I've discovered, one of the things that I've seen is a platform that is called Khan Academy. Yeah, I can talk about them because they're a non-profit. So I have found it very useful. And really, I
Yes.
tell as many parents as possible who are interested to be, to tap into such platforms to be able to support their children. Because the truth I have discovered now is even in the best of learning environments, as long as the children come back home from school and still go to school from home, there is need for them to get some form of support at home that will be able to reinforce their learning. And that's what I've discovered. Um, that's what I discovered within this period, that I can actually use some of these platforms to be able to sort that bit out, to be able to resolve that part, to be able to help reinforce the learning of the children. Now, another thing that I have also seen, you talked about making learning practical. Yeah, is also that I've been able to also find time to use this period to talk about or to teach the children other forms, other areas, other things that they actually need to know that may not necessarily be academic. For example, taking the children to farm, yeah, to be able for them to be able to understand how farming works. This period that we've been at home, the period we have the opportunity to move around, we also use it, touch base with the farm a couple of times, and it was quite good. It was beautiful, and we were able to really progress from there. So, yeah, making learning practical is actually something that every parent need to actually consider. Is important, is very critical, and the schools, I'm sure, just like you have pointed out, many school authorities have also learned from what has happened within this period. I'm sure they have. And for me, to be honest with you, yeah, with due respect to you as a manager of a school, I don't intend to leave the fate of my children going forward only in the hands of the school. I actually intend to play my own role to be able to support them, because I know that that support is going to be very crucial to be able to help reinforce what they are learning. And again, too, I also think that parents need to have a vision of where they are going with their children's learning. This idea of, okay, the children have gone to school and that's it. They come back, probably they come back with assignments and that's it. So I keep asking myself, so where are we going with this whole thing? What actually are we driving at? What are we working towards? And one thing I've been able to answer to myself in these questions I ask myself is that this whole thing is not just about the academic performance. It's not just about passing exams, scoring A's. It's not just. It's actually it's actually about channeling those performances towards an objective. And for me, that objective is for the children to be able to fit in the unfolding world, because our world has changed and it keeps changing rapidly. So what the schools are going to do for going forward is very important. But then, more importantly, what the government do will also be important, because the government controls the curriculum to some extent, yeah, and schools fall in. Maybe schools may have some additions here and there. But I've discovered that the curriculum, with due respect to you once again, the curriculum is obsolete as far as I'm concerned, because where the world is going is totally different from where the curriculum is leading to. Yeah, the world has changed. So for me, these are some of the takeaways that I have been able to discover about myself, my children, and their learning within this period. So I know that what you have shared is also quite important. What you have also discovered about managing the learning of the children within your care going forward, that's actually very, very key. So we like to keep these conversations as short as possible. And so I just like to get your thoughts on some things you are looking at going forward after now, when school resumes, when life comes back to normal in your work, in the education sector. Are there things you are milling your mind over that you'd like to see happen, as we move on with life after now?
When you mentioned reviewing our curriculum and the reason, the objective behind our learning. So that objective will actually be what will drive all of us, because the parents, the school, that's the academic institution, and even the Ministry of Education, we are all stakeholders in the learning process that the child is undergoing. So if the parents can start their part by, one, helping to narrow the objective. Let it be that the child is not coming to school in the morning. You're not just buy uniform, pay school fees, allow your child dress up, come to school, and then it ends there. You pay school fees, you don't bother what follows next. So if the parents can help in that direction, and then the school begins to review methods, and materials. Very, very key, very important. I have been doing a lot of research during this lockdown. Because I feel that them step up their learning, step up their knowledge. Because I've discovered that even not just the fact that we are operating on an outdated curriculum, academic curriculum, our teachers are also teaching in the usual conventional methods of the 1980s, 1990s, and which is not obtainable in today's world. So I've been looking at an avenue or a situation where, as we are coming back, the teachers are already operating at the next level, waiting for the child to step up to that level. Because like the saying goes, you can't give out what you don't have. Okay? So we are looking at that, and then we're also looking at a situation where things or materials we are will be those that are in tune with latest demand, with latest learning demand. Many years to come, 5 to 10 years to come, most of the jobs we're talking about today will be technologically driven jobs. Some of them will be computer-based jobs or jobs in the internet, ICT jobs. So the schools should, as we are coming back, be looking at how can we channelize energy? How can we fashion these children? How can we fashion our students and our pupils and tell them in such a way that they will be able to fit into this order of the day, this order that is coming this way. Okay? So we have to review our methods. Meanwhile, I'm also using this opportunity to call on government again. Usually, I know that the curriculum is reviewed based on research, based on trendy research. Okay, so it means that there needs to be recent research and repeated of such research or repetition of such research. So we need to do research on which areas, which parts of life are more critical. And because that's what the child is going to face in society. So gone are the days when we are talking about let's do practicals. You become chemical scientist. You become medical doctor. You become a lawyer and all that. The times are no longer that way. Things are no longer that way. Okay, so we should be targeting these things going forward. It's everybody's collaborative efforts that will help us to achieve that. It's not just for one person, not for the parents alone, not for the guardians alone, not for the school alone, not for the government alone. So we are all parties to this. And if we can join our hands together and make this work, why not? Few years to come, our children should be competing with the children from the overseas countries. Yes, that should be our primary target. And they should be able to take up jobs. Even jobs that we have to work from home. I think they still want to go to work under people. We should be looking at producing products or releasing products from our academic institutions that will be job creators and not job seekers. I think that's the angle I'm actually looking at this whole thing. So coming back from this break or coming back from this lockdown, we have work to do. We have a lot of work to do. All of us, all hands must be on deck. That's the only way we can achieve. Thank you.
Okay, Ekeoma, thank you so much. That is Ekeoma Onuoha, an HSE consultant and a school principal overseeing a secondary school located in Port Harcourt, Nigeria. So it is parent turned teacher. Discussions around the changing environment, the future of the children.
Thank you for having me. Exactly.